You have the agenda before you, sir.
Okay, we have this is the previous minutes, right, for the last meeting?
Well, yeah, you want to start with the welcoming and then the official
Okay.
start of the meeting, sir.
The one you have in your hand is the agenda.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, sir.
But right now it's 5:30. We're gonna start the meeting. And I believe we're all present with the exception of Jose Zuniga, right?
And
And,
Mr. Juan, yes, they're not, they
And
have,
Jorge, okay, Juan Gonzalez.
you have a quorum, sir.
Okay. Okay, and then we have guest present Sonia Redondo and Sara Perez.
No, that's a minute. That's a minute.
That's from last meeting.
Oh, this for the last meeting?
Yeah, that's a minute.
I'm sorry, what's the agenda?
That's right in front of you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, item number 4 is citizen comments.
Actually, number 3, sir, you need to.
We need to approve
the minutes.
Okay, the approval of minutes for June the 6th, 2018.
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
I second.
Yes, so that's approved. Then we have item number 4, citizen comments.
No, there's no citizen comments, sir. We'll just leave the comment period open.
Okay.
Already got there.
Okay. Item number 5 is a financial and operation update by Capstone Real Estate Services, Inc.
Okay. Sara Perez for the record. I attached the operating variance report for May. June books are already in the works, we haven't received them. And income is here, total income, repairs, monthly services. And it gives you how Mr. Zuniga requested monthly and then year to date. Income.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Negative variance for 385, that was due, we just had a rent change from our compliance department effective May 16, which affects income because we cannot raise all the rents all at once. We have to do it with the renewal process as they're expiring. As they're renewing, we increase the rents, and we can't do it for your tenants. 100 of community development tenants, they have to stay at the rent that they're at right now. Total repairs and maintenance, variance of 3917. That was due to the sprinkler system and alarm panel inspection that was done in May, but we budgeted to pay in June, so we had to, that's why it was off a little. Monthly services, negative $124, and that was due to higher pest control costs. We had 3 rooms that we had to do cleanouts. Total utilities, positive variance there. That's due to the cost savings for the electricity, less water, less wastewater costs. Total item promotions, off by $104. That was due to the Mother's Day party that we held for the residents. General and administrative, there was less overtime, there was less office supplies, so we had a savings there. Total taxes and insurance, the insurance payment was completed for the month of May, but it was actually supposed to be processed for the month of June. Again, a difference of $12.95. Miscellaneous is any tenants that leave with balances on their ledgers, that's favorable. And then the operating expenses, operating income is reflective of everything that I just mentioned. Total owner's expense, you see that variance of 118,304, that's where all the red capital items were hitting. That's where we coded it. We coded it to that GL. Total debt services, which is the mortgage payment, etc., were good. Total capital, we had a positive variance there, and the net income, we actually made a little bit of money this month, the month of May. So everything is reflected above, and the explanations are there for the year-to-date totals too.
But is that correct, that negative 122,000?
Yes.
That's because of the expenses?
The expenses, and then when the money, well, we already received money, but I don't have that information. Sonia has that information for you. If you wanna, she'll give you an explanation at the next meeting for the escrow money that came in.
Okay.
Okay.
The only one is, I noticed the variance is, the first one shouldn't be a positive. Because you're actually, your expenses year to date on total income, or it's because it's
I'm sorry.
total income?
Total income,
Yeah.
year-to-date budget is 470, but
So-
we were off. This was actual 467, so we're off by 3,000.
Oh, I see.
Do we need to approve these or just,
No,
just
a
percentage, just
report.
percentage?
It's just a report.
Okay.
Mhm. And the June financials are in the works. They should be out before the next meeting. And that's what I have as far as the financial reporting.
I would like you to advise them about what the repairs that are going on at the,
Oh,
for the
yes,
elevators.
yes, I made my notes for that.
Okay.
Back in, what was it, October of last year, we ordered the doors, the Hoyer doors for one of the elevators. They were ordered, but they were on back order due to all the stuff that went on with the weather and everything. Finally, they came in, they've been sitting at Otis's maintenance shop for the last 2 weeks, I was notified. They finally got a crew available to come work on the elevator doors. They're gonna start the repairs actually tomorrow.
Are they gonna replace them? Because those doors are old
They're
and
gonna
they take
replace them.
forever to close.
And what they're gonna replace is the door as you go in the elevator. It's the door that opens and closes.
Simple as.
They're gonna replace it on every floor for one of the elevators. That was an expensive project, it was like $59,000. But finally we got them, they're gonna start the work tomorrow. The maintenance, people from Otis are gonna work through weekends because it's gonna take about 2 weeks. Estimated time of completion is for July 15th.
So you
That's what
have
they're
2
aiming.
elevators, so it'll shut off one of the elevators on the floor. The people will still be able to get up.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're gonna be working on it through the day, through the weekend, and until they complete it. And we're gonna be operating on one elevator, so traffic gets heavy there. So, it's effective tomorrow. I'm gonna post some flyers on all the floors. We already made Arturo aware when the complaints start coming in. So, yes, that's gonna start happening. The dining room roof that you guys approved last meeting, start date is July the 3rd. They've already delivered some of the materials, so they're gonna start on the 3rd. And completion day should be, they said about maybe a week or so that they should be done.
Okay.
We also wanted to discuss with you, since it's part of the item is also all the leases
I saw that, yes.
involved. The last time we met, had asked to develop a summary sheet, and you'll see the summary sheet on there of all the commercial leases that we have.
Does it say when was the last time we upped the rents on?
Well, I wanted you to go through it with you all and just kind of, since we have Hamilton here.
Sure.
If you'd like to turn to this page, it's the one with the Hamilton Commercial Lease Summary Report. Just wanted to mention to you, we kind of broke it up by the suites and then the square footage that they're currently renting, the monthly lease amount, the per square footage price per that lease amount, and then the term of years and when each one of those expires. They were recently renewed right after the refinance by Capstone, and then it shows the hours of operation, and then most importantly, what is paid by Hamilton and what is paid by the tenant. And looking at these, I was talking to Capstone Management, and I told them that for the next renewal, we're really gonna have to look at this a lot closer, because for example, if you look at Rocha's El Catan restaurant, the current rent is $1,250 for 1,250 feet, but we are paying the electricity, water, gas,
That's
and
kind
then
of.
trash.
Well,
I don't know
was
about the
gonna ask
trash.
you, how much is it every month?
Well, it's 1 meter,
It's
so.
1 meter for the whole building, so it's kind of like.
I mean, just doing a roundabout, electricity just for like your personal home, this is 1,200 square feet of business downtown, should be about $400.
At least.
Water should be at least another 200,
Can we change the
250.
meters and put them under that?
No, it's only
individual?
1 meter.
There's no way.
No, there's no way. And natural gas too, I mean, they are a restaurant, so.
Right.
So, you know, so it's, I don't know, I guess initially it was a good issue to get the business going and everything else, but I think now that he's established.
Can you add like a column that says how long have they been in there? When
Yes.
like Catan's been in there, how many years?
We'll do that.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
so,
Or
so
are they new?
management, capital management is fully aware now that we will be proposing to do that. And we'll let the tenants know that for the next renewal, there will be an increase in the rent. And obviously, same thing with a Palomita provider, 700 square feet, it's $500. It's 0.75 cents a square foot. Their lease expires in 10/31/2019, and they have typical, daily operations. And then again, we pay for the electricity, the water. So I mean, it's possibly, we can do estimates, and so you guys can look at it in terms of what we believe that cost to be, and what would be the true net lease amount. But we'll do that for the next meeting. Same thing with the Palomita Provider Service Suite C, 700 square feet, it's 650 square feet, and again,
Since they're both the same size and they both do the same thing, why are we charging one more than the other?
That's a very good question. That's the way it was spoken down.
Doesn't make
but,
sense,
yeah.
doesn't make sense, it's not fair to the other one too.
So.
And actually, is it the same service?
It's the same,
Same people,
Mr. Pena?
they own
They're
the,
renting both.
They're renting both. They
so he's getting the
rented,
break on one.
So we'll go ahead and, I guess, look at that a little bit closer. Currently, we rent, the city has the post office, and we rent to the post office at 142 a square foot. And that means we provide all the services too. So we'll probably look at those numbers again and crunch them and provide you a
and then like a
recommendation.
recommendation for
Yes.
each of the, okay.
Yes, we'll
yeah.
provide you a recommendation on this.
Just,
Obviously,
do we know when was the last time we upped the rents?
For El Catan, it was back in, it was before.
Maybe you can list that también on
Yeah. The last
on the
one.
next report. To see when was the last time that we charged them different.
On the Western Union, why is the rent a lot higher?
Good question, sir. That those were rents proposed to them by the bills prior to.
We need to look at it.
like I mentioned to you, I'm looking at everything a little bit closer. And as soon as I identified that concern, because it initially started with the board's push to get the electrical provider switched over and save money on the electrical, which kind of prompted to find out, well, how many meters, where's the meter at? And then we find out that there's 2 meters. And I'm like, well, do the suites have meters, individual meters? No, it's only one for the antenna and one for the entire building. And so then that's when I kind of said, well, it triggered the follow-up questions. How much there's a rent and what do they pay? And that's why I asked management to give you a breakdown so you could be clearly aware and also
We need to look at
to
it.
have management
Honestly, the one that's
clearly
been there
aware.
the longest is Mr. Science, the one from Western Union. He's been there for about 10 years.
Yeah, so we'll look at that and provide you a recommendation with Capstone Management's input.
Sure.
And then the board can decide on those amounts at the renewal. Obviously, we're stuck with the current leases that we have.
Until 2019.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's important that we look at those increases because, well, it's cash flow that we're losing out on, so. So I wanted to just make sure that you guys had that. And another item that we have is, there's been, the antenna lease, issue with giving you a recap, just recalling back when the initial building was restored and rehabilitated, part of that element there, the rooftop easement was sold off to Crown Castle, which is basically a tower antenna company, a communications company. They have like a 30, I forget they have a pretty significant lease, 30 or 35-year lease on the roof, 30-year lease on the rooftop. And we're still about halfway through on it. They initially came, remember that there was 3 antennas that they wanted to put on 3 sleds on the roof, which was not a problem. You approved that without concern, and it went to the historical and they got approved. But apparently their client, Sprint Mobile, was not happy with that that decision, and they opted to see if they could mount the antenna, their mobile antennas on the antenna that's there. Apparently, from what we understand, through the conversations we've had with them, they did a structural analysis, and I think their structural analysis kind of mixed up the antenna with the billboard frame and everything tied to it. And if you recall, there was the last presentation that we showed you, I don't know, but I don't think you were here, Oscar, but there was 3 antennas proposed on the billboard frame.
This?
Yes, on the
Yeah.
billboard frame.
So we're looking at
There it
this.
is.
Okay.
So,
They would be painted red, so it would just kind of like match the frame, so you can kind of see.
So they want to put the
No.
antennas on this.
so that's the location of the new proposal place. So that triggered a new approval, because obviously the other one was approved, this is a different method, so. And then, when that kicked off, well, it triggered a few questions on the legal side. And I spoke to our legal department with Christian here, and he said, well, I believe that might not be part of the initial roof lease that Crown Castle had. So we contacted them and told them that was the legal decision and the legal interpretation of the current easement that they have. And they opted to provide us for an easement, a temporary lease agreement for mounting them on that. Now, they didn't necessarily fight the interpretation of the legal issue, and not saying that it's not part of the initial, but they said that they wanted they had an urgency in trying to get those antennas established. I did check with our communications folks that deal with the antennas, and they tell me, well, 350 is very little. I said, okay, how much? What do you think? Well, comps were this. They said, ask them to see if they can pay you 50% of it or $2,000 a month. I advised them of that, and they immediately responded to me and said, well, if that's going to be the case, we haven't really looked into it, but we might look into it legally, because we believe we still have rights to it, but we were just trying to expedite. And then he said, well, at this point, if that is just going to be the decision that you want more money, then we'll not proceed with that $350, and we'll look for other options. At this point, it's I wanted to bring it to the board's attention fairly quickly because it's revenue. You obviously see the revenue. Now, I did speak to management, Ms. Guayaso, in regards to this, and she said just to bring it up to the board that we would obviously want to enter, if the board decided to make sure that we were indemnified of any issues related to the structure, and that it would have to, proceed with all that, and that it would only be for these 3 antennas, and not any other. It's not like a blanket, lease to just put as many antennas as you can up there on the billboard.
Can I put Pepe on the speaker?
Yes.
Because Pepe, he's in a meeting. Pepe?
Yes, sir.
He won't be able to vote.
No, okay.
So.
But just so you can listen to the discussion, we're discussing the antenna right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
You won't be able to vote because you're not here, but that's fine.
I can be there in 10 minutes if need be.
Okay, sir, but we can talk about other stuff and wait for you.
Vente so that we have 4 of us.
If you want to leave me on the line, George, and so I can be listening to whatever's going on.
Okay,
Okay.
well, okay,
I'll
repeat it, sir.
we'll wait for you. Just,
Yeah, well, I'll repeat it as soon as you get back, sir.
just get back.
Okay, we'll see you then.
All right.
I have a
He's
question
gonna flip or
regarding
get
the antenna.
that, lease.
No,
Yeah, and that's the board's decision if they want to
ahorita
proceed with it or not.
we'll discuss.
And-
They did mention to us that also was that they're gonna continue their structural analysis of the actual tower. So that's why it's a short-term lease.
No, but it says 12 months and then with 5 consecutive renewals, so it's not short term.
Well, their
They want
intent
to
is,
lock in the 350.
You can look at just saying just 12 months. I mean,
They're looking at
You can-
12
12
months
12
with
and 5
5.
You say
consecutive,
it's
so they lock in the 350 for 6 years now. That's not short term.
That's a board's decision to do that. I mean, we're, whatever you feel is appropriate. You can also choose not to accept it. I'm not sure what
Wait till Pepe comes in.
they're gonna say, so.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
Oscar,
So,
¿le seguimos?
next item, I guess we can come back to that.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
I think well, we were talking about the temporary lease, and then the other one is possible action regarding application purchase of a residential property located at 3201 Rosario for purpose of providing affordable housing.
Okay, you look at your packet, there is a property, it's a tax foreclosure property, that's on 3201 Rosario. Initially, there should be some information on there for you all regarding the property site location. Some of the basic information, the living area, the square footage, the webcat value, the school district. It's located over there kind of close to DDHR area.
So who owns the property?
It's a trustee, the city of Laredo is a trustee on it. It's a tax foreclosure property.
Okay.
And where's the,
Does it need work, or
No,
are we gonna remodel it, or
yes, yes, that one.
what's the
Well, we
plan?
were supposed to get some proposals, no? We were supposed to
Well-
get inspections, appraisals.
Well, the
What was last?
property's in fair condition. What we wanted to know from you all was the tax office is gonna be proposing to city management to lower an acceptable bid to propose to city council of $38,000. And I'm not sure if at that point, if knowing that it's $38,000, potentially $38,000, if the board would be interested in pursuing acquisition of the property, rehab, and then reselling it to a homeowner. Obviously, the monies would be coming back to the corporation without, and all expenses would be paid, back.
We wouldn't wanna do something like what we did with those other affordable houses that you did, the ones that are in Valley's district that we went to see one time that you
At the
got
corner.
in that corner.
Santa
that-
Rita, Laredo.
Oh, those were funded through our home program, so that was a full.
So we wouldn't do something like that with this, like
Well,
remodel this
those are
and
rentals.
Yeah.
other rentals?
This would be home ownership because you want the money to come back to the corporation.
Okay,
Because you only have,
okay.
If you do rental on this one, you would have to be qualifying them and,
Okay.
or,
So the idea is to
maintain
purchase it, fix it up a little bit and sell it?
yeah.
And use the money back?
And you do
back
several
to us.
things. You obviously bring it back to the tax base.
Sure.
You improve the area, the neighborhood, and then you're obviously providing somebody an opportunity for homeownership.
So at 38,000?
Well, that would be the starting bid, and I mean, if the board is allowing us to, we would, proceed with offering the city that amount.
But what's the condition of the house? Like, I know that last time we
It-
visited this item, we were supposed to get back
It-
with some
It's
type
okay.
of report
It's-
or
it's-
inspection.
How much are we gonna put in?
How much are we-
How much are we
Well,
putting
we
in?
can't go, I mean, we can't do a full analysis of it. I mean, it's kind of, well, no, I think they did.
No,
No, they didn't.
Because that's what we tabled last time, no, that we were supposed to get some type of evaluation or to see what type of repairs were needed.
For 38,000, 14, that's a good size home. We could turn it around and, like you said, put it back on the tax roll and then make a little bit of money that we can use for other affordable housing projects.
It can range, I mean, it's very, unpredictable, I mean, on that amount, but did we send staff to look at it, or I'm not sure. I totally forgot about that.
I think we had, but I don't know if they have to send me back the report.
How much are we gonna
I think they have,
invest into?
Well, looking at it, I mean, let's consider it a full regut.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you'd have to redo everything and bring it up to code. So, I mean, you're literally talking almost 50,000 minimum.
How much?
50-20,
Almost
50-20.
50,000,
50?
yeah,
50?
at least.
What are houses in that area going for? 1,400, 1,500? Because then you're already at 88. and
What
then you said that for more than
has them
100.
at 74,
Some of the
so if you redo it, I mean, you could,
180.
yeah, we can, there's people, what were the,
comparables and,
I think it's worth looking at.
we can look at it.
I mean, is there a limit as to how much we can make
Well,
in
well,
terms of profit?
No.
with-
First question to ask, is the board interested?
I think we should
Yeah,
pursue it. I
and
think
then-
we should pursue it.
And then if you pursue it, we'll do our analysis on that end, and then we'll look at the buying it at a price of $38,000, and then we'll bring it to you. It still has to go to council.
I know.
So
So we look at
it's
it and
until
see,
July
and see
16th.
see how much work it needs, and then we can
Yeah.
get an
And we
estimate
can
for how much
bring you-
we're gonna spend, and then we decide.
Yes, we can bring you back
That's what I
if you
think
want
we
the
should.
analysis.
Yeah, I think we should do that. I move that we do that.
So just an analysis. for
An
that.
analysis,
Yeah.
that way we know exactly, we know what we're gonna pay for it, and then we see what we're gonna have to put into it to see if it's something worth doing.
You're looking at it with that $38,000 or?
At 38.
Okay.
I move.
A second.
The starting bid at 49, what was this?
It's good, all tax foreclosure properties have a minimum bid based on the taxes that are owed, expenses that are due,
Okay.
and so that's what they have to pay to get it. But the cities or the trustees have an ability to, if a property stays there for so long, they have the ability to reduce it.
East of Arkansas, right?
Excuse me?
3201.
The map is right here.
It's over there by
This
where,
one, you can see
Junior
the map
Choice?
is- the- the
Yeah,
top.
I
Elementary?
mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
don't know
pro-
the value's gonna be like.
going down to
Yeah.
Villa del Sol?
I don't know if you probably don't have anything.
We can look at it.
Let's look at it, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, it's worth looking at.
And you know the market, everybody.
So there's a motion,
You
there's a
and Oscar
second.
are very familiar with that stuff, so.
We have a program in this area that we offer 100% financing for the, we will purchase the house.
Oh, okay.
¿Qué pasó, Pepe?
Yeah, well, that, we wouldn't restrict the
No, we're
buyer
at the
from
city.
going,
City.
wherever
Yeah.
he wants to go finance, we wouldn't tell him where to go, we would just,
No.
you know. He chooses to go
Yeah.
to the finance company he wants to go to.
It's up to them. They may already have something.
Yes.
So let's, okay, there's a motion and a second
But to come back.
to come back and do
Yes,
the
just an analysis.
do the analysis, just to do the analysis.
Because if we're looking at 38 and another 50 is 88.
Yeah,
plus
por eso,
the
let's see if it's-
cost,
yeah, let's see if
and
it's
you're
worth
like
it.
at 90, 92.
Yeah, let's see what the values are.
What are we gonna sell it for,
Yeah.
100 and make $8,000?
Yeah.
Well, it's not necessarily about making money.
Well, we're getting the money back.
Well, it's just making sure you get, remember, the whole adamant thing about Housing and Finance Corporation, you guys being, is providing.
It provides housing and it puts it back on the tax roll, so.
Now, we can make a little bit,
Maybe?
Yeah, that's fine.
that'd be great, but you know.
Yeah, let's
But the whole trying to.
put it back on the market, let it be productive.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's fine.
And what's happening a lot is, when we see with down payment, is there's low income people and there's not enough affordable homes out there. So by them going out there, they cannot find the $80,000 homes
No,
anymore.
they're all in over 100.
So they can't qualify.
So if you were to bring this one up, we could possibly provide assistance through our down payment assistance program to somebody,
Okay.
further lowering their amount and really making it affordable.
So even if let's say if you put the sales price at let's just say 115, and just throwing a number in there.
Just to throw them.
And then closing costs and all of that, and then they can go down payment assistance, they can get up to 15, it's 14,999 of assistance, so they end up having a loan for like maybe 101, 102, now their price is,
$1,400,
but-
14 square foot home, that's
but
good.
you got
1,400.
back your,
Yeah.
But we'll do
Let's see what it looks
that,
like.
we'll run those numbers for you so you guys can feel comfortable with it.
Viene
Chairman,
Pepe. Hot seat.
So we just finished, Mr. Chairman, the board just, you haven't voted, so there's a motion.
No, we
No, I move that we look at analyzing
The
the purchase for 38 and then how much work does it need to see if it's feasible for us to buy it and fix it and then resell it.
Just an analysis.
We're gonna do an analysis just to, so I moved and she seconded, so we need to call for the vote.
Okay, so that's the motion on the floor. Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposes? Motion carries.
If you'd like to go back, sir, to item number 6 to discuss the item on the lease, I'll be glad to.
Okay, item number 6 is the,
They're offering 350 and they said it was a short-term lease, yet the lease says for 350 for 12 months and then 5 renewals
Up 12 months.
up 12 months, so it's not really a
And-
short-term
and-
lease.
And like I mentioned to the board, just going back for purpose consideration, Mr. Chairman, basically, they did reach out, the board had approved prior to the platforms that were originally gonna be done on the roof. They do have rights to the rooftop easement. It's part of their 30-year easement agreement that they have. They're probably about halfway through that agreement. They were looking at trying to use the antenna because I think the platforms on top of the rooftop itself didn't work for Sprint, as we understand from what they're telling us. So they were looking for a secondary option, and that's when they opted for for the areas where the billboard frame are located at. And you want to show it to Pepe?
I haven't.
Those areas.
Well, this is another.
There are 3 locations on top of each of the corners of the billboard frame. In discussing it, we did bring it up with legal department here in the city, and Christian did review it, and he kind of did a preliminary assessment saying that he believed that the billboard frame was not part of the original antenna. We did get some feedback from the current lease owners, Crown Castle, saying that they weren't in agreement, but in order to expedite it and avoid any legal issues at this point, that they were willing to do a temporary lease with the board or with the partnership to use that area temporarily until they find a permanent solution actually on their antenna. From what we understand, they did a structural assessment, but they did a structural assessment of the billboard antenna, not necessarily the antenna. So they need more time to do the structural assessment on the antenna. That's why they're requesting the temporary lease. I did speak to management and let them know, Ms. Guaso, and she did recommend to advise you that if we did proceed with it, to make sure that it was, let me go back a little bit. I did check with management and told me, they checked with our communications folks, and they did say, they believe that it was very minimal rent, and that it should be more. They had mentioned somewhere up to $2,000. I did go back and mention it to Crown Castle, and their immediate reply was, well, that's too much. We strongly believe we have rights to it, but we were just trying to get through this quickly. If that's going to be the case, that you want more money, then we will just have to choose another option. And so basically saying that it died there if that was the case. And they said, well, 350 is on the table. If they want to take it, great. If not, we're going to find another option. And I told them, okay, well, let me let the board know. I just was considering the fact of our revenues and just to make sure we had something. Management further clarified a few more things to make sure that if we did decide to proceed, to make sure that, this is just a template. I don't think that the formal, the stuff that's on
The structural analysis?
this is not necessarily a lease, it's just kind of high points of a lease. So we would have to actually, like you see down at the very bottom, other terms and conditions to be determined as necessary by the City of Laredo or Pinnacle Towers. It's not City of Laredo, it's obviously Hamilton Partners, which is you all. And so all of that would need to be ironed out with whatever other items you feel that you would want, or you can just reject the offer.
So if they have a lease, and we don't go with this, they can actually go back and just drill on the roof and put up something else?
They would have to do a structural assessment, but they have basically
They have the right to do
the,
that?
yeah.
So they can go in and work on the roof and drill and do whatever?
They have rights to the rooftop easement.
Okay.
There's no.
We couldn't stop them from it.
The only items is that anything that's added to the roof has to be taken to the historical board. That's why
Well,
they come and ask.
that,
for
but since we just fixed the roof and whatever,
Yeah.
you want somebody.
Well, the initial plan that they had was they were putting them on platforms to avoid, because they knew we were putting a new rooftop. And that was okay, and they were moving with that. That got approved by historical. We didn't want to cause them any delays in case that was the case, and to allow you all the option. We already went to the historical board just to get their approval on this, to make sure that they were okay, but it was still pending you all approving the lease of it. So that's where we're at.
They can't do anything, they
They
just
can't
have
do
the
anything.
approval right now.
How long will it take them to put them in the antenna?
That I don't know. They're in a rush to
They're in
do
a
it.
rush. So obviously the 350 is not enough. It should be close to 2 or whatever. And they said short term. This is, like I said, 12 months and then 5 more 12 months. So I don't think we should do 5 more of 12 months. If we decide, could we counter, because since they can go and drill on the roof or whatever, and the concerns were if they put it up there, we don't want it damaging the roof or whatever. And for 350 then poquito, would they consider, could we counter and say, hey, let's do 1,000? It's half of the two, I mean, it's more than 350, and do it for 12 months, and then we look at if they're gonna renew.
Whatever the board wants to do.
Something else that we can do is, in good faith, we can tell them, we'll do 500 for 1 year. And in 1 year, you should be able to have it in the antenna. Because if you ask me, 350 is not even worth our liability.
You wanna try calling Vincent?
Yeah,
Y'all wanna try calling the,
Well, we need to agree.
We need to agree on it.
If,
okay.
500 is still better than 350, and
But since they're, I mean, they're saying you, basically, they need this short term, like Jorge said, 5 years is not short term.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we
and
can,
maybe that, I mean, and that lease is not the final lease.
No,
yeah.
and
So,
for them to see a good faith, you know, from our side,
yeah,
you
500.
know, we do 500
500
for a year.
for a year, and then 500 a month for a year, and then.
A year should be enough for them to do whatever
Other stuff.
structural issues the antenna has.
Yeah.
with also indemnifying the corporation.
Yes, in
and-
case something happens.
Okay,
I don't know what you guys think.
I just got 50.
it's the board.
I think 500 would be kind of,
It's only $150 more than what they're offering. I mean,
But I'm pretty, they'll probably take the 500, I don't think, they won't do 2,000, I don't know if they'll bulk at 750 or something like that.
it's less than the 200.
We can ask for 750 and then
And
if
then-
they think it's too much,
and
we
then
can go
come down to
500. But
Too long.
you wanna do it like that?
I'd say
Yeah.
I
750.
know, I don't,
Okay.
I mean,
whatever the board
So
decides.
I'll make a motion, we will request 750 only for 12 months.
Okay,
And if required, you have the ability to go down to 500 a month.
okay, and that indemnification be.
And then indemnification, yes.
Correct.
If you want to call it now, you do it, well, after we.
And that would just be, just for further clarification, just for that
For 12
antenna.
months.
Just
Just for
for that,
For, on that bill,
For
on
that
that
structure.
billboard.
For that billboard and for that spread, because we.
Correct, for the
You
antennas,
wanna clarify a
yes.
little bit?
So, yes, so I've been
For
in,
the-
in contact, yes, with Mr. Gary, the one that he's shown up to our meetings, he's the one that I guess, works on the structural and works on, and the communication with Sprint and all this. And then there's a real estate department for them that handles the leases, it's Mr. Vincent. So just recently, actually just today, we got another email, just to let the board know, and they included me and Arturo on the email, and apparently there is talks also about T-Mobile inquiring about Hamilton.
So we may get another.
Well, we
don't know because-
We're gonna get clarification, we just wanna make sure that this is just for the Sprint lease.
Just for
this is just for the Sprint lease and as presented.
As percent.
Right, and if somebody else comes, that's something else.
Right.
I just wanna let the board know that we
Right.
just apparently,
Yeah.
and we're gonna get clarification also because the building department
Correct.
sent it to us, so we'll get
So-
clarification.
So do you think the motion that we're doing is clear enough? for
Then,
them
just,
to-
we could just reiterate it, just to make sure
Correct.
again.
So the motion on the floor will be to accept the lease for Sprint only as presented for $750 a month for a period of 1 year only,
Mhm.
since this should be a short-term solution for them.
Mhm.
Again, it also gives you the power to go down to 500 if required.
Okay.
And to include that we're indemnified if something would happen.
So that's the motion on the floor. Second by Ms. Montoya. Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Motion carries.
So that's another issue. Mr. Chairman, just going back on, since we're on the same item, we did provide a summary of all the commercial leases. I think I had spoken to you briefly about it myself, and my concerns related to it. So we will be looking at it very closely. Hamilton staff is aware that, you know, we're gonna have to up those rents for the commercial. areas on the first floor only. This does not affect any of the
Residents.
residents, to be very clear. We're on live TV. You know,
We're gonna
to make sure.
add, Pepe, we're gonna add a column here that says how long these people have been there and when was the last time we
Yes.
increased their rent.
Correct. And I don't know if you touched on the matter that we pay all the
All the water,
utilities.
yeah, that's the reason for looking at revising this, because we're paying a lot.
I was advising the board that for, as an example, the city has a post office and there's another lease with Endeavors, which is one of the Veterans Coalition nonprofits. They're about $1.40 a square foot. So we'll look at something with management to look at those rental rates a little bit closer for the next renewal.
Correct. And those also include utilities?
Yes, everything, sir.
If I can also bring up that we also had a discussion on why there's a variation on the rents. If you notice, like on DXC, there's the
Per square
same.
foot, yeah.
It's the same person, but.
And then we have the Western Union with a much smaller
Trying
square
to
footage.
trust one.
Yeah, but the 1250 lease for El Catan is pretty
Yeah.
That's a sweet deal.
cheap.
It's sweet.
It's a sweet
Got a
deal.
sweet
It's
deal.
sweet.
Mhm.
I mean, considering that the electricity, water, and
Are
service are included in the
Oh,
1200,
Well,
I mean,
It's working for free.
it's worth it.
mhm.
That's pretty cheap.
So we're gonna come back to that.
Okay.
So you all are fully aware now, everybody's aware now of the current rents, and we know the direction the board wants to take for when we renew.
Yeah, no, that's,
But there is no way to put separate meters.
No.
It's just cost prohibitive or it can't be done.
Oh, I mean, we have to get an architect to analyze it and study it.
And require.
The analysis that's gonna be made on Rosario, like you mentioned, is basically on updating the property.
Well, if we can, we're still on the other item, sir, so you need to close that item and then we need to move to that one. You wanna close that one and then we can reopen or revisit that one if you wish.
so we're in
So
the lease.
we're on the crown?
We're-
Well, no,
commercially.
No, we're number 6 right now.
Okay.
The Robo one.
Well, we were on.
No.
We were,
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
we
we're
voted.
mixed up, I'm sorry.
We're
We
voting.
we went back.
We went back to number 7,
Number
no,
Fine.
to number 5.
Okay. So you took a vote on the Crown Castle and that
Yes.
closed, and then you went back to number 5, so you're at number 5.
We're at number 5.
So if you wanna close that discussion and then start
Any other
discussing.
discussion other than the fact that we just rediscussed the same item? No, so
You wanna go back to number 7, sir?
we'll go back to number 7, and it's just for clarification, the analysis that's gonna be made, it's gonna be made just for updating the property.
Right now, I'm advising the board, Mr. Chairman, that the city is proposing, or the tax office is proposing to management and then to get their approval to lower the current tax amount request offer of $48,000 that you see on there.
To 30.
To 30.
To 38. That still has to go to council for approval. The analysis is just limited to basically potentially the purchase price of that, the expenses, and then having staff look at, or city staff look at rehabilitation or restoration of the structure for a residential property to be bought out for a home ownership, and then look at that analysis to see how we can also help out with down payment assistance. And the primary mission would be to bring back that property into the tax base in a much better condition, and then also provide somebody an opportunity for home ownership. So
Which
that
is
would
what we
be,
had previously discussed. right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
so that would be the intent.
Perfect.
So we need to look at the analysis and then decide.
So we'll close that item as well. Number 8, discussion with possible action to consider maintaining Jim Plummer as legal counsel.
I was a little bit bogged down today, and I finally got some initial, the board had last asked me to check in with the Laredo Housing Authority, get their council rates. I got those similar rates and I provided them to Mr. Jim Plummer. I'll be honest with you, I sent it to the wrong email, since I sent it to his old email, not knowing, and I finally figured out that I had done that. So I called him up and I sent him the new rates, and I just forgot to check in with him.
So we don't know if he's okay with it?
I don't know if he's okay with it, but we'll check in for, by the next meeting.
So we'll
So we'll
table.
table that item?
Table it.
Yes.
So we have a motion to table item number 8, second by Ms. Ella Montoya. Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Nobody against? Motion carries to table item number 8. Discussion and possible action of the yearly calendar meeting dates for 2018.
There is a schedule on your packet with the board meeting days proposed for 2018. If you'd like to go individually through them, just to make sure the board is okay, and those will be the board meeting dates. Just to reiterate to you, the council passed an item an ordinance relating to boards and committees that the city has to make sure that they meet monthly or on a routine basis. And then and then also establishing a 3 absentee rule. We'll be glad to email you that ordinance so you can look it over. But that basically has started this past month since it was published.
What time are we gonna have these meetings, proposed meetings? In the afternoon?
Well, that would be on, you tell me what's best for each meeting, and that's the time that we'll use. I think in the past it's been either lunchtime or at 5:30, so I think we want to continue at
We want to
lunchtime.
continue with
I
lunchtime.
think that's what we could.
The only,
Oh, yes.
August 6th, I'm gonna be out.
The only thing is that I have meetings like at 1 o'clock, so I can't stay for the full hour. Can we start them a little bit early? Can we do,
That's up
can we
to the
do
board.
11:30,
11:45.
or 11:45?
no, 45 is
Yeah,
fine.
you get.
July the 11th, Juan is still gonna be out of town and I'm gonna be out of town, so.
So you want to propose another date?
So I'll
You can
propose
change that one.
the July the 25th.
And then since Eva's gonna be out on the 8th, and it's kind of close to the 25th, you wanna move that one also?
I would say August
Move
22nd.
them, but make sure you do 11:45, because I'm gonna be leaving early. Not all of them.
No, I'll be fine.
So we'll propose the 25th for July and the 22nd for
For
August.
And then the other dates are good for right now, so we can post them on,
Yes, sir.
as your meeting dates for the
So
year.
just send us an email with the final. That's it.
September, yeah, no one's on vacation, so it's pretty much back to normal.
So can I have a?
So the motion will be to change July the 11th to July the 25th and August the 8th to August the 22nd. I'll make that motion, second by Ms. Eva Montoya. Everybody in favor say aye.
Right.
Anybody against? Motion carries.
That is it, sir. We'd like to.
I move that we adjourn.
No citizen comments, no citizens present at the time, so we'll close that item number 4. Motion to adjourn the meeting. Jorge Gonzalez, second by Ms. Montoya, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Time is 6:20.
6:20.
Thank you.
Thank you, board members, for coming and giving us a little bit of direction